actually debate that Nihal goes maybe 2 turns ahead as well. But we are going to get them underway, and it's going to be an exciting match, that's for sure. So let's see what these players have brought to the table, and let's see who ends up ending up on top of each other. Look, I'll be honest, I have no idea. This is a fresh game. Like, we did mention that Nihal got the better of Alex at Melbourne Regionals, but as far as I'm concerned, these guys are on a level playing field. Their teams are quite similar, and yeah, They seem to be having a bit of bantering on stage while they're waiting for it, which is good. So, yeah, as I said, it's one of these matches that is just going to be really good to watch. And you're exactly right. It's a mind game and a half, that's for sure.
Still waiting for a bit of...
I believe it's because their DSs are not over the infrared.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're ready to go. So we've got Alex Poole, and then we've got Nihal as well. So Alex sends out his Salamence and his Thunderous. Nihal sends out his Thunderous and his Groudon. So straight off the bat, important to note that Alex actually has an advantage, I would say, in this one, being that he's got 2 flying Pokemon. Priceable Blades will not be able to hit. He does have the Intimidate drop as well, but then again, Nihal could have a special Groudon. So at this stage, I'd say that Alex is in a good position.
It's Alex is certainly in a good position. I mean, that Groudon does not appreciate the Salamence. At the same time, though, Salamence does not enjoy facing Thunderous. I think so. It's sort of pulled it back a bit. I think we mentioned in the previous round, it's sort of like a giant rock, paper, scissors game. It's a similar situation here.
Double-edged sword, indeed.
Double-edged sword. So it's looking to see what each player does. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Salamence withdrawn here. But also the interesting thing to note is what Alex has on his Thunderous, whether his Thunderous can do anything to Groudon.
Right, okay, so we do see the Groudon switch through Nihal, and he does bring in his own Salamence, which is important to note. So he is opting to get that Intimidate off on Alex's Salamence and on the Thunderous, but more notably on that Salamence. So be interesting to see what else is done here. So we do see that Alex is not switching out. He is going for his Mega Evolution on his shiny Salamence. And we see the Taunt come off from Nihal onto the Thunderous of Alex. Unfortunately loses that speed there, that speed tie, or that speed war, I should say. Unfortunately, it was a battle to see who could get the Taunt off first, but Nihal got the upper hand on that. And then we also saw a Hyper Voice come off on Alex's Thunderous. So a bit of unfortunate luck there for Alex.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. At the same time, though, he's still crippled Nihal's Salamence to a certain extent, but
most definitely.
I think it's again another contrast of philosophies. Something I've just something that's just prompted my memory from watching them at Melbourne. Sure. Is that Alex tended towards the bulky, slow Thunderous, whereas Nihal favoured the faster one.
Yep.
With the Sash, I believe he's running. So the bulky one is good, but the fast one wins against the other Thunderous. So
yeah, most definitely. Okay, so we do see a Protect come out from Alex's Salamence. We do see a Protect come out from Nihal's Salamence as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Okay, so we do see a Thunder Wave, and the Thunderbolt gets fired off into the Thunderous spot. Good play done by Alex there, activating the Citrus Berry on Nihal's Thunderous. But clever predict over there. Obviously not opting to go for the Salamence. Salamence ended up protecting. He got some good chip damage and made him use his item on the other opposing Thunderous.
Yes, at the same time though, it's interesting because now that Salamence, does sort of come down to the speed tie. If Alex does lose the speed tie, it's not too much of an issue. He won't lose his Salamence for it. But if Alex does win the speed tie, Nihal will lose his Salamence. So, but it'll be interesting to see though. But we have seen that Nihal's quite happy to have his Thunderous throw a Thunder Wave into the Salamence. So whether or not it might be time to switch it up a bit, withdraw the Salamence to fight another day. But
yeah, most definitely. Okay, so we do see a Thunder Wave come off by Nihal onto Alex's Salamence. We do see the Hyper Voice still come off though. So and it's important to note that it actually went first.
He won the Thunder Wave won't take effect until after the
After the turn.
Yeah, speed changes don't take effect until after the turn's taken place.
There you go, guys. Getting a lesson from one of the best as well. So there we go. So the taunt has also worn off on the Thunderous, and he's also picked up the double KO with Nihal. Yeah. So leaving Alex in a strong position at this stage. He's got his Salamence. It is a little bit crippled at this stage, and his Thunderous is now not taunted, so he can fire off that taunt into that Xerneas, potentially stuffing up the Geomancy. But yeah, Alex has taken the lead 4-2. And also important to note that both of his Pokemon are full HP. The Salamence is paralyzed, but it's still good to see that those Pokemon still have their full HP. They'll be able to take the hits and whatnot as well.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, as much as Alex is up 4-2, he's it's the Xerneas in the ground out there. But we see the Thunderwave going to the Xerneas, which is a smart move there. And
gets the Parahax there too. And we see the Eruption come in here, and that's going to deal some serious damage. Doesn't quite knock out both Pokemon. Actually leaves the Salamence in the green, and the Citrus Berry activates, bringing Thunderous close back up to 50%. You see the Hyper Voice come out here, and it does modest amount of damage, probably about maybe close to 45% on the ground, or maybe 40% on the Xerneas. So very quite even across the board.
Yeah, Alex had a chance to be in a really bad position at the end of that turn. He's not anymore. He played quite well. The full paralysis was a bit lucky, but still throwing the Thunderwave into the Xerneas slot was the right move to make.
Sure.
We see both Groudon and Salamence protecting himself here. Thunder's going for the taunt to stop the Geomancy coming up. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see if he actually does go for that, which he doesn't. He goes for the Dazzling Gleam, but now he doesn't have the option of doing that. He's going to... Okay, interesting. The Thunderous does survive it. I would have thought that it would have KO'd, but obviously the EV spread, it's more of a bulky variant than we have seen previously, which seems to have paid off in that sense. So Thunderous is still alive, Salamence is still alive. So yeah, so we see the Thunderbolt come off on the Thunderous. It is going to do, again, a modest amount. We do see the Fire Punch come off the ground, and he is going for the Salamence. Though doesn't quite get the pickup, and then we see the Salamence go for the double edge, and that's going to be the KO on the Xerneas, leaving Nihal down 1 to Alexander's 4. So yeah, still alive.
So I thought, as this game's worn on, I've thought, Alex is sort of pushing. I did sort of see or expect Nihal to make some sort of move coming back, but Alex has played exceptionally well. He's certainly played. He was good at Melbourne, but I think he's better. I think he's proved. He's certainly playing the matchup a lot better than Melbourne.
I think he's gone back to the drawing board, and he really was like, okay, well, how did I go wrong here, and how can I work with it with the team that I have? And I feel like he's refined his process quite a lot, as we're seeing in this match. Throughout the match, he seems to have had Nihal on the back foot in a lot of the exchanges. We see his Xerneas come out and his own Groudon, and very, very strong position at this stage. Definitely got Nihal on the back foot. So we'll see what ends up happening here. But yeah, it's not looking good for Nihal at this stage.
No, it's not. But look, things could still happen.
Of course.
But we're interested to see what Alex does here. He might not want to try and reveal too much here.
Yeah, very, very true. Does go for the price for Blades, but that was from Nihal's side. Does fire off, and it does, again, a modest amount. And then, okay, so he's gone for the Fire Punch.
Not wanting to risk the Precipice Blades miss.
Most definitely. So that is the first game to Alex. And as I said, pretty convincing win, Matt. As I said, always had him on the back foot. And I think we've both noticed a dramatic improvement in his play style from Melbourne Regionals. So credit where it's due, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah, he certainly definitely has a tightened his game a lot. Not to say he was bad. He was actually the only person to take a round off me at Nationals last year.
Oh!
So I've always had a lot of respect for the man. And
There we go.
even more respect for how he behaved afterwards. He's a
gentleman.
He's a gentleman.
He's a gentleman. He's an absolute gentleman. One of the nicest guys I've had the pleasure of meeting. I actually caught up with him at Melbourne Regionals, and it's so funny. Like, he just came up to me and goes, "Hey, you know, you're Jesse. I've heard about you through the community." Super friendly guy. Just super friendly. I don't know how you can not like the guy. And Nihal's pretty good too. Nihal's great. We all love him down at Melbourne. He's representing us down below. And as I said, I really expect Nihal to really recalculate right here, and he's going to fire back strong.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. We saw both players there keep their Xerneas back. Neither of them, you know, they have the Smiggle Xerneas, but neither of them led with it. I think that shows that they respect each other. They know leading something so standard and so expected. You know, it's not going to play. They can't just play by remote. They have to really think it up.
Really comes down to also how I honestly feel that it goes back to what we were saying about chess as well, and thinking X amount of moves ahead. The thing about these players is people try and do that, but they think way too far ahead. They over-predict, and it doesn't work for them. These guys are so calculated where it's not just a predict, but it's an educated predict, and that's what really sets these players, and that's why they're so like high off in comparison to everything else. So, yeah. It sort of looks like Alex is going through his Facebook, just making sure that I think that might be a strategy. He's trying to look to throw off his opponent, just, you know, being calm and collected.
He needs to be a little bit careful there, but
yeah, a little bit careful indeed. But it does look like Nihal's just focused. He's just all focused. Looks like they're trying to pair up their 3DSs again. Looks like they're getting a bit of lag through that. But Nihal, in the finals, especially in Melbourne Regionals, completely won it convincingly. And he's been very consistent this season. I've actually really would like to see this guy go to Worlds. I think he's had a really good season. Both guys I'd love to see go to Worlds. But unfortunately, it may be the case. It's going to be probably the case of only one of them gets to go through. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Both guys have got their invites. But obviously, they both have commitments. Alex has said that he will not be going unless he gets his paid invite, and I think Nihal's in the same boat.
Well, it's an expensive proposition to go to Worlds.
Yes, so, most definitely.
So, you know, I mean, we say that we organised that trip quite early in the year. On the
yes, yes, and just to clarify, yes, myself and Matt will be going to Worlds. I will be not competing. I'll be there to enjoy, maybe, you know, have a bit of a chat with Cybertron or anything of the sort. But Matt is actually going over to represent Australia, and who better person to do it as well, Matty? Definitely been a consistent player. He literally he's literally said to us, "Yep, I've got my invite. I'm pretty content with that. Okay, I'm going to commentate. I'm going to give something back to the community," which has been fantastic. So, reason why we are having a little bit of delays is it looks like there is some interference when it comes to the 3DSs. It looks like there is a staff member that is going to attend to this. They're just trying to get the attention of them. Obviously, Nintendo have been doing a fantastic job, but it just seems like there's lots of people that are basically going and a lot of people raising their hands for end of matches and everything of the sort.
All right, looks like we've got some connection in there now.
Just trying to communicate with the Nintendo staff. He's just looking at me going, "What do you want about, mate?"
Yep.
Hopefully that is a good sign of a connection here. Doesn't look like we're live. We're live on stream. Okay, yep, okay. We've got a Nintendo staff member who's just jumped on board. I've got no idea, but apparently they jiggle the cords and it works. So, yeah.
The old percussive maintenance.
Oh, it is. That's right. And listen, guys, look, I just wanted to also emphasize the fact that we wanted to really thank New Games Plus for having us on board as commentators. The guys have been absolutely fantastic. The stream's been running really, really well. And one thing that I really loved is they reached out to the community. They went straight to the community and said, look, we could really use some guys to give us a hand with the streaming. It's the first year that Australia has had a proper go-to stream that has been done this professionally, and I think that definitely has to be noted. So absolute kudos to those guys. They're doing a great job. We're going to have a jam-packed day tomorrow as well, which will be fantastic. But here we go. We've finally got something up and going. So Matt, do you want to go through the team with us?
Well, we saw, we have Nihal's team on there, the Salmon, Smeagol, Xerneas, Groudon, Thunderous, Amoongus. For those of you who are just tuning in, Alex's team is Salmon, Smeagol, Xerneas, Groudon, Thunderous, and Talonflame. So both very similar teams. Nihal with the Amoongus though, and Alex with the Talonflame. So once again, this isn't just so much a battle of who can get the Geomancy up first. It's really a battle of their individual philosophies and their preferences.
Most definitely. It's also important to note that Alex fairly convincingly took game one. He had a commanding lead from the from the get-go, made a couple of good switches, good predictions, and that sort of put him ahead. And now both players are going into game two. So yeah, and as I said, we have Nihal there who won Melbourne Regionals and actually defeated Alex in the top 4. So it's an interesting match, and one that myself and Matt have been kind of waiting to commentate on, because it's just great to see these this caliber of players basically going back and forth. It's fantastic. So without further ado, we're going to kick things off. We're going to see Alex bring in the Groudon and the Thunderous. Matt, do you want to go through Nihal? And
we see Nihal going with the go-to lead of Smeagol, Xerneas. So both players have decided to try and switch it up a bit. Will certainly be. I think Alex still has a slight advantage here with the Thunderous. He can taunt the Smeagol, he can Thunder Wave. The Xerneas, Groudon, he can just go for just the straight damage. But this is a player such as Nihal, I don't think will be too taken aback by this. Smeagol is as versatile as they come. There could be something hidden up his sleeve.
Like a mental herb.
a mental herb, yes, or a wide guard.
Or a wide guard, of course, yep. So basically, Alex has to play very carefully here. So while he might have a good position here, it's Pokemon, and as we both know, anything can happen. So here we go. We're gonna see Smeagol go for straight the Dark Void. Oh,
so firstly, that is a Scarf Smeagol.
That is a Scarf Smeagol.
And secondly, that is ballsy from Nihal to go for the Dark Void in front of a Pokemon with the Prankster Taunt.
Yeah, that was... oh, wow. He is not mucking around. We see the Geomancy come off straight off the bat. Nihal is making a statement here. He doesn't want to make the same mistakes in the previous game. Pulled off the Dark Void, got the Geomancy. Very, very strong lead for Nihal at this stage. Oh, sorry, a commanding position. So, yeah, unfortunate for Alex. He's going to really have to depend on those quick turns, wake-ups. But now, also, he's got something to concern himself about, and that's that Xerneas.
The only positive Alex can probably take from that is that, his Pokemon have already burnt their guaranteed turn to sleep, so they could wake up this turn. The other thing to take, he knows that Smeagol is Scarf, so that's information to take away for Game 2. He probably won't fall for that trick again. I will just note that if anyone's running away, Alex didn't go straight for the taunt. Top 4 Melbourne, Nihal's running Mental Herb Smeagol. Alex did go for the taunt and lost off on a similar proposition. So, a bit of history there.
A bit of history there. So that was a sneaky play by Nihal. Alex thought he had him on the ropes, but Nihal has proven that he has mixed it up since then. So, leaves it for an interesting start of the game 2.
We see Nihal withdrawing the Smeagol here. Smart play here. He's got no point sending in the Amoongus, which will probably lead for the redirection of the inevitable taunts or Thunder Waves.
I see the Xerneas going and straight for the Moonblast. He doesn't want that Thunderous in there, and that's a straight up KO, which is really unfortunate, because now not only has he lost his taunt Pokemon, he's going to be able to redirect without having the fear of the taunt being fired off or anything of the sort. So that's really unfortunate. So he does answer with his own Xerneas though. But again, it's one of those things where
it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, boosted Xerneas Moonblast will likely KO Alex's own Xerneas. If Alex tries to go for the Geomancy, if he tries to protect, then look, honestly, Nihal probably doesn't need... having the Amoonguss is nice, but having the Amoonguss was simply just to redirect the Thunderous. He's now removed the Thunderous. He's still got the ground there, but he's pretty much removed some of the biggest threats. And as we can see, he's going to take that Amoonguss back out again, and he's going to bring back probably... Oh, no. I was going to say he's going to probably bring in that Smeagol, but he brings in the Silencers again, probably getting that Intimidate on the Groudon. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Moonblast here targeting down the Xerneas.
Yeah, most definitely. So we do see that Moonblast come into play. It is going straight for that Xerneas, just as you predicted, and wow! It takes it out.
Yep.
Oh, no. And Groudon wakes up, and he goes straight for the Fire Punch. But unfortunately, he's lost 2 Pokemon. And as a result of that, those quick, that very sneaky play of the sleep on the turn 1. But as we've said before, anything can still happen. But at this stage, Nihal has a commanding lead. He's been dictating it all. That Scarf's Smeagol really caught Alex off guard.
It's certainly very... Nihal's playing very ruthlessly here.
Yeah, most definitely.
He didn't fool around. He just went straight for the jugular turn 1, and he is reaping the benefits of it. Yeah,
most definitely. And sometimes those risks are going to need to be taken. So we see the Mega Salamence on Alex's side, and now we see the Mega also on Nihal's side. So also important to note that Alex is Mega'd first, indicating that it should be faster. So we see the Dazzling Gleam come into play as well. It's going to go straight for that Salamence. Oh, no, it's got the KO again. And, oh, that's a very tough position. That setup has basically left Alex down 3 Pokemon now. And he's just slowly picking them away. It's not really able to do much to that Xerneas now too, so...
It's just, you know, we see Nihal, you know, he removes Thunderous first. That was his biggest threat. He sends in this Amoonguss just for any redirection. As soon as he realizes the redirection is not necessary, but the Intimidate would be useful, pulls the Amoonguss out, sends back that Salamence in just to ensure that Groudon can't 2-hit KO the Xerneas, and just goes from there. So, just fantastic play.
Yeah, most definitely. Just wanted to point out, Alex was just having a quick conversation with Nihal, and I want to guess that conversation was, I had no idea that was scarfed.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some reference, yeah, to the firstly the Mental Herb Smeagol of Melbourne, followed by the Scarf Smeagol of Nationals. So
yeah, most definitely. But now that trick has been revealed. So now it comes the question of, how does Alex bounce back from that? So we do see like options like Thunderous. I think Thunderous is probably going to be, you know, I think it's essential to bring in these cases, but it's also, you're going to have to try and protect it as best as you can, because that is your only real answer to stopping those Dark Voids, stopping those Geomancies. We now know, he now knows that is now, doesn't have the Mental Herb. So now he will be obviously rethinking his strategy, but then again, Nihal might just bait that. And that's where the mind games come into this thing. So I would say Alex is in a little bit of a trap at the moment. But now, so is Nihal. So now it's a matter of who can climb out of this trap quicker, because they've revealed things on both ends. And it's going to lead for a very exciting Game 3.
Definitely be interesting to see how both players adapt. We saw both players change it up there in Game 2. It'll be interesting to see, you know, do they go back, do they keep what won them their respective games? Do they try and do something completely different again? You know, we've talked about the chess game now. It's just probably might even, you know, generate to, you know, your cup game. Find the ball. Which cup has the ball? With that kind of switching around, you know.
It's a magician's game.
A magician's game.
Indeed, a magician's game. All right, so we see Smeagol Xerneas from Alex's side. He's not taking any of it. And now for Nihal, we see Smeagol Xerneas. We have a mirror match. So Alex has made a statement. He's going, nah, I'm going straight for it, and Nihal's going, yep, that's fine, I'm going to match you for straight for it. So
it's interesting to know that I think Nihal does have... Ooh, interesting. I was about to say Nihal has the advantage with the Scarf because his Smeagol is faster, but that doesn't mean anything. It's, you know, if Alex tries to craft shield to stop the Dark Void, but Nihal fakes out, it's just...
That's where the game's coming in.
Game, and here we
go. We see the fake out right here. But interesting to know, though, that it is scarfed, so it is locked into fake out now. So But here we go for the Geomancy, and he'd be looking to get that revenge kill on that now that he has broken the sash, if he is sashed.
Yeah.
So now it'll be interesting to see what the opposing Xerneas goes for on Alex's side. And they're both going for the Geomancy. They're both going for this statement here. They both want to go for it. But the important thing to note is Nihal Xerneas is faster. It is moving first. But then again, Alex's Xerneas could be bulkier. So this is where the mind games come into it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens here. What Alex decides to do with his Smeargle. And then obviously I would assume that Nihal would be switching out here.
Yes, but I can see him firstly switching out. Secondly, I could probably see him switching out into that Amoonguss.
Yeah, most definitely.
It resists the fairy typing. He could probably switch out into the Amoonguss there. He's free to Dazzling Gleam with his own Xerneas. By that, he will remove the other Smeargle.
So we do see the Amoonguss come into play here. And now we see the Dazzling Gleam, which will probably pick up the KO on that Smeargle, and yep, very convincingly does. So that kind of stuffs Alex's plans for the Dark Void, and it means that Nihal does have his Smeargle down the back, where he can use his own Dark Void. So, ooh, so we do see the Moonblast get fired off, and he does get a special attack drop. So
it's good to note that Moonblast did, more than 50% as well. So it'll be interesting. And with the Groudon coming in now, we saw, that Alex went for another Moonblast. That Amoonguss could redirect it away with, Rage Powder. But now with the Groudon coming in, Alex would probably just go straight for, 2 spread attacks, which would definitely hurt that Amoonguss, but would almost certainly knock out that Xerneas.
Or does he opt to go for that Fire Punch and get rid of that Amoonguss as soon as he possibly can?
It's a bit of a risk, though, because if he goes for the Fire Punch and doesn't do anything for the Xerneas, he still runs the risk of Nihal's Xerneas two-hitting his own Groudon with the Moonblast.
Most definitely. So it is interesting to see how this will play out. At the moment, would say it's pretty much a level playing field. Both Xerneases have both got their Geomancies up, but Alex managed to get a special attack drop on the Xerneas when he Moonblasted last turn. Now comes down to how Alex will respond to the Amoonguss coming in, and these Xerneas are at below half HP. So it'll be interesting. Okay, so Xerneas goes for the Protect, and that is from Alex. We also see oh no, okay, my apologies. We go for a Moonblast, which is going straight to that Groudon slot. Groudon lives it, takes a bit of chunk. He is going for the Fire Punch though. He is going for broke. And
I understand why he's made that move. He has a bit of downtime.
Yep.
Explain, but actually, just occurred to me as he was making it, and it's a very smart play from Alex there.
Yep.
But I have a suspicion that Amoonguss could have the red card ability, which would have ejected Alex's own Xerneas. It would have lost his Geomancy boosts. So by removing it first, he's in a bit of doesn't risk losing the.
Most definitely, of course.
But with Smeargle coming in, it's still very
scarfed though. It's a scarfed Smeargle, and that's the problem. I don't think Xerneas is going to be able to outspeed it with its Geomancy boost.
No, with the Geomancy, it will outspeed it.
It will outspeed it?
It will outspeed it.
Okay.
The question is, though, will Nihal risk locking himself into Fake Out again?
And it looks like he's going for that Fake Out. And he looks like he is going to go for it. And Xerneas on Nihal's side is going for that Moonblast. He doesn't want the opposing Xerneas in. And it doesn't just quite KO. But now Groudon goes for that Fire Punch, and that is going to hit hard on Smeargle and knock it out. Basically, now putting Alex in the commanding lead.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that play though. If he'd gone for the Xerneas, if he'd removed the Xerneas, he would have locked in a Smeargle trapped into Fake Out.
Most definitely.
At the same time though, if he hadn't gone for it and Smeargle had gone for a Dark Void, he could have been in a very bad position there. So,
that could have been a game changer right there.
So hindsight is 20/20, but I still think the better move might have been to try and go for the Xerneas.
Most definitely. Well, as we see here, Groudon, Xerneas, Salamence. Nihal is down to his last 2, while Alex has 3 remaining. We are 1 game each, which basically means this will decide who wins the round. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. These guys are really thinking out their moves.
All right, so we see the Mega Salamence here going for Mega Evolution. I will be interested to see what it does.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
Xerneas
is going for the Moonblast. That is from Nihal. Oh, he's going for his own Xerneas, and boom, it's gone and knocked it out. So now we have Groudon, who is... Oh, okay. He's going setting up for the Tailwind too. So Nihal's playing smart here. It's definitely not over. And then we see the Groudon go for that Fire Punch, and that's going to KO that Xerneas, leaving Nihal down to his last Pokemon.
You see a lesser skilled player there would have just probably gone for the Dazzling Gleam and the Hyper Voice.
Yep.
But we just saw Nihal there. He goes for the Tailwind, knowing that his Salamence is now the fastest thing on the field.
Yep.
Still, he is down 2 Pokemon to 1 with the Intimidate on the Groudon. So.
And it's also important to note that Salamence coming in does intimidate Nihal's Salamence as well. So it's...
Now the question becomes, can Nihal's Salamence take a Hyper Voice from Alex's Salamence and an attack from Groudon?
Most likely being a Fire Punch.
Fire Punch.
Could quite potentially. We're about to find out one way or another. Okay, so we see the Mega Evolution coming out from Alex's side. Salamence has protected. Okay, so it's opting for the Protect. Groudon protects. Okay, double protect.
Okay, very smart. They're burning that turn of Tailwind, which means he could probably move it down into a situation where Alex comes down to a speed tie Salamence on Salamence.
Right.
Alex gained, he didn't lose anything by going for that move. There wasn't anything that Nihal's Salamence could have done to further improve its position there. So, but again, the question still remains, can Nihal Salamence tank the Hyper Voice and the other attack?
Well, we're about to see a Hyper Voice come out. That does a hefty amount. That's a critical hit. We see a Hyper Voice come out. Oh, that does a lot of damage. And we see a Fire Punch. I think that might be game.
I don't think so. Remember, it's intimidated and a base 130 defense stat on Salamence.
This is dangerous.
So what I'm going to guess here, we'll probably see Alex go for double tech, burn that last turn of Tailwind, and then basically take the game down to a speed type.
Oh, this is intense.
This is very intense. A lot of ambitions ride on this match.
And both guys are having a good laugh on stage about it too.
Yeah.
Tailwind has put it out. Now it's going to come down to who Salamence is faster.
Who do the gods favour? Which way the coin is the coin going to hand Nihal or Alex?
The Hacks gods indeed. We've got everyone glued to the screen right here, and it's literally coming down to who has the fastest Salamence. So the boys are thinking about it. The suspense is killing me right here. Because it's anyone.
And Alex wins the speed tie!
Alex wins the speed tie and knocks out Nihal, and he is over the moon. He gets that win back. What a fantastic game of Pokemon.
We said